What's good, everybody? I'm Keandre, this is Intellect, and welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video, we have the first mock draft of the year, and before we get it started, I wanted to talk about two important things. So the first is the lottery odds in order change literally every day, so it won't be 100% accurate to when you're watching it, but it should still be pretty close, especially at the top. And the second thing is, there's only 58 total picks in the 2022 draft because of tampering, so shout out to the league for that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, starting with the Detroit Pistons, making that #1 overall selection once again. With the first pick, the Detroit Pistons select Gonzaga forward Chet. The good thing about the #1 pick for a team like Detroit is they really can't go wrong. I think there are a lot of cases to be made for the others, but I went with Chet, a guy who's really impressed me lately. Now he is somewhat polarizing because of his slender build, but the dude is big time and he's continuing to get better on a game-by-game basis. I like what Chet brings to the table as a defender inside and out, a shooter, playmaker, and high field guy that's a very good building block next to Cade Cunningham. You stick him at the 4th spot, stay with Isaiah Stewart to bang inside with the true centers, and go ahead and build from there. And with the second pick, the Orlando Magic select Paolo out of Duke, and I like Paolo in this situation. They've got some really nice pieces already, including Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony. You put him in that 4th spot as a physical presence at a legit 6'10", he gives them a much needed boost in the shot creating department, and his playmaking has been tremendous lately. Overall, I think people have started to overthink him. I know he hasn't shot it great lately, but an athlete like him who has a chance to play 3 through 5, can drive it, shoot the pull-up, knock down a 3, make plays for others, and has had great defensive moments shouldn't be a hard sell. There's a lot to work with here at still just 19. And with the third pick, the Houston Rockets take Jabari Smith, sharpshooting forward out of Auburn. I really like how Jabari's game so easily complements a lot of these young stars at the top of the draft, and I think that could be a deciding factor if teams believe the prospects are close. You look at him in Houston next to KPJ, Jalen Green, Şengün, and he fits as a 4-man who can play on the wing, shoot lights out from 3, handle it a bit, and defend at an excellent level in multiple spots. With the 4th pick, the Thunder take AJ Griffin, 6'6" wing out of Duke. Now I know a lot of people might be shocked by this, and I love Jaden Ivey as much as the next guy, but I don't really like adding another guard who needs the ball into the mix with Shai and Giddey, who already have their own early difficulties playing off the ball, and defensively neither of them have been very good this year. And I also really like Trey Mann and Lou Dort long term. I think AJ Griffin still has underrated upside as a physical wing who can shoot lights out, play solid defense, and has potential to be a big time self-creator. People say best player available at all times, but here I think growth gets stunted on all fronts if you take Ivey, but I am a guy who thinks these two prospects are a bit closer than the consensus might. And at number 5, the Indiana Pacers get the home state kid in Jaden Ivey. It's funny things turn out this way order-wise because the Pacers also have more guards than a Kyle Lowry Villanova team, but they're much more movable and they just have an obvious choice to take the best player in this scenario. I would say Ivey has a chance to go #1 if Detroit gets it the way he's been playing, but here I think he's the perfect long-term 2-guard complement to Halliburton. As you just shift the rest of the team a little, you trade Brogdon, keep Duarte in a high-minute 6-man role, or just slide him up to the 3. Whatever you do, you make room for a talent like Ivey at number 5. With the 6th pick, the Sacramento Kings pick up Wisconsin shooting guard Johnny Davis. They just traded Buddy Hield and Halliburton, 2 longtime staples in the backcourt for them, and here they get a tough scoring guard in Davis that's 1, the best player available to me, and also a feasible fit next to Fox and Sabonis. At 7, the draft starts getting pretty interesting, especially for a team like the Spurs, but they go with Jalen Duren, freshman center from Memphis. Duren is the best center prospect in the class in my eyes. You look at his combination of size, strength, athleticism, with just terrific defensive abilities, and think the Spurs can definitely work with that. And he's also got some upside offensively that I think they can really unlock. Now the Blazers could be #1 pick contenders given their current roster, but right now they're in the 8th spot, and they take Ben Mathurin, an athletic wing out of Arizona. Mathurin's got the 3-and-D capabilities and has had some flashes of self-creation and passing. Portland just needs good players at the moment, and he fits their love of high-level athletes. The CJ McCollum trade has given the Blazers the Pelicans' 2022 pick should it fall outside of the top 4, so at number 9 the Blazers take Keegan Murray, forward out of Iowa. Like we said earlier, the Blazers are basically in a position where they should just take good players. Simple enough. Murray is a versatile 4-man who's already grown so much as a scorer in 1 year, and you go ahead and get him with this team in a strange transition phase. At 10, the New York Knicks are on the clock. They take Ty Washington, a guard out of Kentucky. They could definitely use some guard help, and I think Ty fits the bill in this draft. He's an excellent pull-up and spot-up shooter, a projectably solid defender, and a good playmaker that we haven't seen everything from so far at Kentucky. In a draft that doesn't have the perfect player for NY, I think Ty might be the closest. With the 11th pick, the Washington Wizards take Jaden Hardy. The Wizards might get into the top 10. The Wizards might get closer to the top of the draft with Brad Beal out for the year, but here they take a swing on Jaden Hardy, assuming he plays less like he did against Long Island down the stretch. He can be Brad's understudy while he's there and hopefully continue to grow his game. He still has a somewhat volatile stock as I want to see how the rest of the year goes, but I have a tough time denying his potential. At number 12, the budding powerhouse Memphis Grizzlies, who potentially own 3 first-round picks, including this one from the Lakers, grab MarJon Beauchamp here at number 12. To me, there are a few players who fit the Grizzlies better than MarJon. He's a 6'6" wing who moves well without the ball, defends, and his hardworking mentality is perfect for a team with Ja and Jaren as their centerpieces. Hitting on these type of picks is how you get Warriors type of runs. With the 13th pick, the Atlanta Hawks select Ochai Agbaji out of Kansas. Now, Ochai has really taken his game to another level his senior year with the Jayhawks. He's developed in a tremendous way offensively, and I think his combination of shooting, defense, athleticism works perfectly next to Trae Young and company. And he's also not someone you're going to need to take years to develop, which is good for a team with expectations and one that's already struggled to do that in the past. And with the last pick in the lottery, the Charlotte Hornets take Dyson Daniels, 6'6" guard from the G League Ignite. It's not the flashiest pick, but I think Daniels works here. He's a good contrast of a defensive-oriented guard who can play multiple positions and gives you his necessary playmaking presence off the bench. You really just have to buy into him being a solid shooter. You can keep T-Row and LaMelo, bring him and Bouknight off the bench, and I think they'd be headed where they need to be. At 15, the Thunder are back up, and they go with Serbian phenom Nikola Jovic. Jovic is one of the most talented offensive players in this class as a 6'9", 6'10" forward. It should be interesting to see where his stock ends up because this could end up a real steal. The Minnesota Timberwolves are on the clock at 16 and they choose high flyer Kendall Brown. I would love KB to end up in Minnesota. 1, because his game complements the likes of Cat, D'Lo, and Ant very well, and 2, he's from there. He's a raw but high field wing who is super bouncy and has recently shown some signs of shooting and scoring growth that's really making me like his game even more. The Spurs are back on the clock with the Boston pick acquired in the Derek White trade, and after selecting Jalen Duren, they bring in Tari Eason out of LSU. Eason's a terrific forward who can guard multiple positions, has shown a strong driving ability and a knack for making plays. For a guy whose swing factor is shooting, San Antonio is one of the 2 best spots in its position of need as a 4 and possibly small ball 5 in spot minutes. With the 18th pick, Houston goes with Jeremy Sohan out of Baylor. I love his versatility, size, strength, and potential at the 4 or even 5, especially defensively. He's not someone who needs the ball to make an impact, and I buy his jump shot long term and just really like his fit with his current Rockets group. The Denver Nuggets select Christian Braun out of Kansas at 19. I think this is a match made in heaven for Denver. Again, not a flashy type of pick, but Brown's ability on the wing to affect the game in multiple ways, really defend, move without the ball, is exactly the type of player you need in Denver alongside Jokic and the Murrays and MPJs. The Spurs are back up again at number 20, this time with Toronto's pick from the Thad Young deal, and they take a swing on a struggling talent in Patrick Baldwin Jr. Now, I'm still holding strong in PBJ's talent level, but is not headed in the right direction right now. I could see him dropping even further than this at this rate. I mean, his team has struggled to be competitive against some mediocre Horizon League squads, and he's been disappointing individually lately. But he's a 6'9" dude with a pure shot and great offensive potential. It would just make sense for San Antonio to take him and bring him along if they are to keep all the picks. With the 21st pick, the Dallas Mavericks select Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame. I like Wesley's potential as a shot creating 2 guard with a solid all-around game. And with Dallas making the moves they have recently, they still need some extra juice next to Luka. There should be a couple options available at this spot. Maybe they won't be as young as Wesley, but they got to bring something to the table to help out. The Brooklyn Nets get Walker Kessler, a shot blocking menace out of Auburn. Kessler has played his way into legitimate top 20 contention. I could see several teams interested in him from like 15 to this spot, and I doubt Brooklyn and Dallas both passing on the opportunity to get a guy like Kessler to potentially be their day 1 starter. He blocks shots, moves fairly well at that size, has potential as a shooter. Just a very solid all-around prospect. At 23, the Chicago Bulls select EJ Liddell, forward out of Ohio State. I think EJ makes a ton of sense for this Bulls team. Patrick Williams theoretically holds down that 4th spot in the future, but EJ's got great potential to be a contributor as a shooter, skill scorer, and shot blocker. They had success taking on a quote-unquote older Big Ten guy in Ayo Dosunmu, so they keep the strategy of taking EJ. Pacers pick up Harrison Ingram, an intriguing forward out of Stanford. Now Ingram is one of the most unique in the class. He's a big body player with a really solid handle. He can pass it, has potential as a shooter, and for Indiana, he's the type of connecting player you can take a chance on next to your current young group. With the 25th pick, the Grizzlies take Ismail Kamagate, a center from France. Grizzlies could use some depth at the 5 spot, somebody who could eventually take over for Steven Adams, or just spell Jaren Jackson depending on which direction they take it. I like the value here getting Kamagate, a guy who's already contributing at a high level with Paris basketball. You're getting a lob threat, shot blocker, and somebody who can make plays. Jean Montero is the pick for the Bucks at 26. Milwaukee could use a dynamic guard presence, and Montero might be able to deliver on that. His stock is still pretty volatile. I could see him going anywhere from like the late lottery to 30, but Milwaukee is a very good situation, especially with guys like Drew and Giannis there defensively, and they hopefully get a longer term solution to that second unit offense. With the 27th pick, the Miami Heat take JD Davison. The Heat are also a good team in position to take a chance on a guy with JD's upside, though he's got some stuff to still work on. He's a super athletic guard with real playmaking and driving upside. He feels like a guy that Heat culture would love the value in picking at this point in the draft. At 28, we've got Memphis once again. Already having picked MarJon Beauchamp and Ismail Kamagate, they take Bryce McGowens out of Nebraska. Bryce is one of my favorite players in this class as a tough, high upside scoring guard at 6'7". I could definitely see him going higher than this, and although he might not have all the elements Memphis currently has in a lot of their players, especially defensively, the scoring upside is something I'd like to see with this group. With the 29th pick, the Warriors take Wake Forest breakout guard Alondes Williams. Alondes, aka Man, has been one of the best players in college, and I like the dynamic he could potentially bring to this team as a big guard playmaker and all-around crafty player. And with the last pick in the first round, the OKC Thunder via Phoenix take Max Christie out of Michigan State. Christie should be a target for a lot of late first round teams. Here the Thunder get one of the better young wing prospects at pretty good value as a 3-and-D baseline type of guy. Here's a look back at the first round of picks. The Raptors could go in a bunch of different directions here, but Ousmane Dieng feels like a very Raptors high upside pick. He's made some real strides offensively lately, which might have put him back into true first round contention in my mind. I doubt Masai passes on the chance to get the raw 6'8" wing with great defensive ability and offensive potential. Kennedy Chandler is up for Orlando at 32. I think teams like Memphis, Milwaukee, and Miami will have a lot of interest in him in the first round, but if he doesn't end up there, he might just go in the early second because he is more of a one position guy. But he's absolutely talented, and he's been much better defensively than I would have guessed coming in. Indiana's back up, and they select Justin Lewis out of Marquette. Lewis has been on an excellent run this year. He's made great improvements and has stayed consistent lately. He's actually creeping towards first round consideration on my big board. I think he's got good value here and gives him the potential to get a little cavalierish with the lineups. The Thunder grab Duke center Mark Williams at 34. Now Williams has first round potential as a rim runner, lob threat, shot blocker, and the 7'7" wingspans don't come around too often. I doubt the Thunder use all 4 of their picks, but a vertical spacer and rim protector like Williams has to be a priority in this draft. The Magic pick Michigan's Caleb Houston 35th. He's got 3-and-D potential. He's been a bit underwhelming in some areas this year, but he fits very well into what the Magic are building right now. He's had some better games in the second half of the season, especially that Purdue one that's given me more confidence in him, and he should be pretty comfortable back down in Florida. I love Trevor Keels at 36 for the Cavaliers. They can still use another guy who can run the show in some spot minutes and especially defend the guard spot. You got a 3-and-D power guard that can play in many different lineups with this current budding Cavs group. The 37th pick, Sacramento takes Wendell Moore. You get an all-around off guard or small wing. He's someone who can play different roles, and you hope he continues to improve as a shooter. But alongside Fox, Mitchell, and Sabonis, he definitely intrigues me. At 38, Portland goes with Jalen Williams out of Arkansas. Williams is one of my favorites, a borderline first round talent at the moment. He's one of the best charge takers I think I've ever seen. Just an overall smart player, good passer who's been scoring and shooting the ball really well lately. He's the type of player that just makes winning plays at the 4 or the 5 and has some offensive upside he hasn't yet shown in college. Charlotte gets Moussa Diabate, forward out of Michigan at 39. I'd guess Diabate probably returns to school, but should he declare, anywhere from the late first to this area seems like his sweet spot. He's a terrific athlete, versatile defender with some intriguing offensive moments, and Charlotte gets more potential help in the front court. The Knicks select New York's own Julian Champagnie at 40. Champagnie is one of the best scorers in the class at the 3 or the 4, and the Knicks just go ahead and take who I think is the best player available at this point. The T-Wolves pick Jaime Jaquez out of UCLA. I like Jaquez's all-around ability to make an impact on the game on the wing or at the small ball 4. I think of him filling in sort of that Jay Crowder type of role. As a very good defender, he's smart, and I'd bet on his shot at least being league average. With the 42nd pick, the Spurs take Hugo Besson, a combo guard from the New Zealand Breakers in France. I think there's a fairly decent range of places Besson could land, ranging from sneaking in the first round to a little past here. But in this situation, he serves as a depth piece in San Antonio behind or alongside Primo off the bench. The 43rd pick belongs to Atlanta, and they pick Vince Williams Jr. out of VCU. He's a high-field lefty wing at about 6'5". He's a very good passer and shooter who really competes defensively and again, just makes winning plays. It's definitely the type of player they could use next to Trae Young. The LA Clippers select Iverson Molinar, talented scoring guard out of Mississippi State at 44. Jason Preston had surgery on his foot at the beginning of the year, but may be back soon. Regardless, they need some help at this position with the trades they've made. Don't have a ton of draft capital going forward, so you gotta hit on the picks, and I like Iverson a lot here. St. Joe's Jordan Hall is the pick for Charlotte at 45. Hall is a 6'8" wing or point forward type of guy that also has some growing abilities as a pull-up shooter and self-creator. He's somewhere in between like a Martin Twin and Kyle Anderson as a player. The T-Wolves are back up at 46 and they select one of the best shooters in the class, Young Jun Lee out of Davidson. It's hard for me to believe he won't at least get looks in this range. He's an absolute sniper, good mover without the ball, and has good size. The Pistons go with crafty Italian guard Matteo Spagnolo here at 47. I definitely think he could go higher than this by draft time, and it shouldn't take you long to see his appeal if you haven't watched him before, especially for a team like Detroit that doesn't have much reliable offensive production off the bench. Boston takes who I think is the best player available here in Christian Koloko. He will be sort of a third, maybe fourth big as long as Horford is there, but eventually I think he can contribute and form a solid rotation tandem with the experience that is Robert Williams. And with the 49th pick, the T-Wolves are up once again and go with another shooter in Gabriel Procida, a 6'7" wing out of Italy. The Warriors get an absolute steal in Purdue big man Trevion Williams. You'll find him ranked all over the place on people's boards, but I think if he can land in Golden State, he'll have serious staying power in the league. He's the best big man passer in college, and I'm clamoring to see him run some split action with Steph and Clay, hopefully extend his range out to the three-point line, and just give them a different look. The Ignite's Michael Foster goes 51 to the Mavericks. I love his ability to score inside and the skill level he's demonstrated at a young age. He's a solid shot blocker, been making improvements across the board all year, and is also probably a steal at this point in the draft. New Orleans has two picks here at 52 and 53, and they use it on Isaiah Mobley and Darion Sebron. I think they're both pretty high value at this point in the draft, with Mobley being a versatile big man who steadily improved over his time at USC, and Sebron being an absolute rim seeker of the highest order. Two players you can make cases for up and down the second round. Johnny Juzang gets picked up by Sacramento at 54. You might as well take a flyer on this shot-creating college star and hope all the concerns are overblown. The Cavs select Fresno State center Orlando Robinson at 55. Just get a little more depth at the center spot. Mobley and Allen will eat up most of those minutes, but Robinson can possibly work his way into a deep rotation spot. Caleb Love heads to Portland in the late second round. Through some of the struggles, I still think there's a draftable player there, especially with his shooting improvements. Jabari Walker heads to Golden State with their last pick as a versatile forward who makes his bones on defense. And then finally, Indiana's Trace Jackson Davis goes to Phoenix with the very last pick in the draft. And of course, here is a recap of the full 2 rounds. I appreciate y'all for watching this video. These mock drafts take forever to make, so definitely be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and comment down below some of your thoughts on the mock draft and this draft in general. I'm Keandre, this is Super Intellect, and I'm out.
Life ain't sweet, Saturday through Monday, but in the summertime, you my watermelon Sunday.
Gotta beat the heat, even though I wanna play, but you keep me cool, you my watermelon Sunday.